Life is really short. Are you communicating with other people what you want, what your life goals are, how you want to be treated? Because you don't have much time. Today is a nice Saturday morning. I got my coffee right here. And I thought, what better topic to discuss than communication? I think that something that I've began to realize very quickly, especially considering I feel like I'm in a place right now where there's a lot of transition in my life and I'm kind of deciding what I want to do, and there's a lot of pressure on me, and I think a lot of people go through this in their life. It just kind of occurred to me. I think this is a really good topic to discuss for our little philosophical self-improvement series that we're doing here about communication and whether or not you actually articulate what you want. And this applies to everything. I think so many people are cowards. And I mean, myself included, I know there's situations where I would wanted to do something, but I just didn't speak up. And that cost me things, It costs everyone things, I think, when they want to do something, but they don't articulate it. And other people can't read your mind, so how do they expect to know? How can you expect them to know what you want? So my favorite short essay is this essay by Brian Doyle. It's called Joyus Voladoris. That's the scientific name for a hummingbird. It's about a hummingbird. But there's this really, really cool quote in here that began my thinking about this. The shortness of life and what we can do about it. So it goes like this. Every creature on Earth has approximately 2 billion heartbeats to spend in a lifetime. You can spend them slowly, like a tortoise, and live to be 200 years old. Or you can spend them fast, like a hummingbird, and live to be 2 years old. Now, the science behind this is questionable. I think the average is like 1 billion heartbeats for everybody, for every species. Obviously, there's a ton of variation, but that isn't really the point of this. The point of this is the analogy and metaphor that this can make, which is that, you only got a certain amount of heartbeats to live, right? How are you going to spend them? Are you going to waste them? Are you going to continue to do things that you don't want to do, that you're just doing because what? Because you feel like you're indebted to somebody, or because you just didn't speak up, right? And you feel like you're being taken advantage of, whatever the situation is. And obviously there's a difference between being selfish and just not allowing yourself to be walked all over, right? I mean, everyone has the right to at least articulate what they would like to get out of something. You won't get it all the time, maybe, but you'll have a 0% chance if you never try, right? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, the classic saying. At the end of the day, I'm just not really sure what you have to lose. And I think that this is something that continues to permeate our society, especially in younger people. I see it happening a lot. And this just kind of brought me to think about it deeper. I'm not really sure what the cost is of doing this. I don't see any. You should tell that person you're in love with that you're in love with them. You should ask your boss for a raise. You should tell that person that you don't like the way they're treating you. It only helps to benefit your life. And your life is so short. Why would you waste your time on things that are so detrimental to you? And like I said, obviously there's time to help others and to spend some time, giving to others and not always getting exactly what you want. But it also shouldn't be the exact opposite, where you never get what you want, right? There has to be some kind of balance in between your life. Aristotle's golden mean, right? With virtues. Balance is always the key. The way that I've begun to look at this is thinking about what 5 seconds or 10 seconds of courage can do for your life. Let's go back to the example of you're in love with someone, you have deep feelings for this person, but you don't know if they feel the same way, and, you haven't told them. Well, you're never going to know unless you make the first move. And so a common phrase that I hear a lot now is that if they wanted to do it, they would have done it. And I think that phrase is just unbelievably BS. I mean, think about how many things you wanted to do but you didn't. Because you were scared, because you were worried about the consequences, because you just didn't have the courage to do it, right? That happens to everyone. It is not true that just because someone else didn't do it means that they didn't want to, right? And so if you approach everything with the mindset that the only way you are going to get a true answer out of this is through communication, communicating what you want, right? And that's the main goal of this. Now, obviously, there's kind of an undertone here of the finite nature of life, but the real importance here is communication, because communication is what leads you to being able to capitalize on this finite nature, right? Because it's always the go-getters, the people who capitalize on every opportunity that they have presented to them, who are the ones that usually end up succeeding. And so you have to, do a deep look into yourself, I think. And we all need to see where we could be a little bit more brave, where we could have a little bit more courage in our life. Because why do we want to suffer in silence? Right? I mean, there's so many examples where, as we know, one of the biggest things about building relationships with people, especially romantic relationships, is communication, right? That's what everybody always talks about. But the number one thing you could do is communicate. And that's just because other people can't read your mind. I know I already said it, but that has to be, hammered into all of us. I know how I have countless times where I have not said anything and I regret it a ton later. I overthink these situations, right? Oh, what could have happened? Maybe if I said this, it would have been different, right? So why not just prevent your overthinking in the future by just acting on what you think in that current moment, right? What you think you want or what you think could happen, and just speak up. Because there's no guarantee that, first of all, anyone else is thinking the same way as you, but there's also no guarantee that anyone else is not thinking the same way, if that makes sense, right? So in the situation where you're telling someone you're in love with them, how do you know that they're not thinking the same way unless they've explicitly communicated that with you, right? The only way you can find out is by communication. Or, for example, you have an idea, you're in a meeting at work and you have an idea for something, right? How do you know that, although you may think that, your idea is basic or your idea doesn't have any value, how do you know that anyone else has already thought of that? You might have been the first one, right? So why not speak up and give your idea? Because there is nothing to lose in these situations. What, you might get a little bit embarrassed if you're wrong or if that person doesn't like you back. But, okay, you were embarrassed for a little bit. We all know the embarrassment passes, right? At the end of the day, life is so short. And there really doesn't seem to be any great reason for why you shouldn't communicate what you want in your life. Now, the other aspect of this, which I'm not going to go too in-depth into because I really want to make another video on this just completely about honesty and telling the truth. But the other thing is, especially when your communication is lying, when you're telling someone a lie, right? How does that benefit anyone? That doesn't benefit the person because you're not telling them the truth. And it certainly doesn't benefit you. And so instead, it just creates this falsehood of communication that you have between you and another person where nobody is really benefiting because the truth isn't being revealed. And I'm pretty confident in the fact that the truth is always going to be the best outcome for a situation. Now, I can make a whole video on honesty and whether or not we think that lying is ever acceptable in any situation. But just for this communication part, I think that it is imperative that you try to tell the truth as often as possible. Because there is a reason that you are thinking that, and there's a reason that you believe that. And that makes it valid and important. And if anyone else tells you differently, they're lying. Okay, that was communication for today. I love talking about these topics. I think this stuff is so interesting. So I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this once again. Please leave a comment down below. Comment ideas about topics that you think I should discuss and think about. I love making these videos once again. I can't wait. as these videos grow, hopefully, and I gain more of an audience, that you guys can actually, talk back with me, leave a comment down below. I'm super excited for all that kind of stuff because, well, I love talking about this stuff and I love hearing what other people have to say about it. So please leave a comment down below. If you have liked this video, if you enjoyed it, maybe you got something out of this. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos on these kinds of philosophical and self-improvement topics, as well as some college tips that I've garnered over the years. And as always, I hope you have a great day.